of the MMA Outsiders. I am Z and Bando. He is at Golden J. You will be my brand new co-host on this journey. How are you this afternoon on a fine Tuesday in the day and a half since Labor Day? How have you been?
Oh, I'm doing great. Listen, I took a little break this weekend. I made no posts, made no content, and I'm coming back strong with the MMA Outsiders, with Zambando, and I'm very excited to be here on Playback and YouTube.
Yeah, I'm looking for it as well. Just a few quick reminders before we get into the direction of this show. This is live on playback as we speak. So for those of you who have followed the MMA Outsiders ever since August of 2022, you've only ever known it as a pre-recorded podcast. It is now live. It is on playback. It is simulcast to YouTube. You will get the archive immediately after this, and the format of the show is changing. So to get into what that format is going to look like, today is Tuesday afternoon. We are in the beginning stages of fight week. Oh shoot, we will. That's Jack there. Hopefully we can get him
I'm
back.
good. Give me 2 seconds.
All right, all right.
I apologize. My dog locked himself in the bathroom and was going to start barking up a storm.
Makes a whole lot of sense. I completely understand. Anyway, continuing on with that, we're in the beginning stages of fight week for UFC Paris. The UFC had a week off this past week to end the month of August. So this is how the show is going to work. On Tuesdays, it's going to be general news. It's going to be general news in the world of combat sports that took place this past week. If you guys remember when it used to be the hour-long show where it was once a week, one half of the show would be news, the other half would be previews. Tuesdays are going to strictly be news days, and then we're going to come back on Thursdays with a full preview of every single UFC event moving forward, as well as any other cards that we deem important. So the show format seems simple enough. Before we get into the topics for today, Jack, would you like to give a brief background just to what brings you here and what you're most looking forward to about the show?
Yeah, no, I run an MMA media page on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and I cover events. I talk to fighters. I talk to people within the combat sports world. And I give you the occasional betting insight per each event this week or each week. And yeah, I'm happy to be able to finally break down fights and talk about them with you.
For sure, and I can tell that your independent venture is so far slowly but surely paying off, and your content is extremely engaging. It's nice to see another guy in the Midwest represent the combat sports community well. So I'm excited to talk to you more about this crazy sport, which continues to get crazier and crazier by the day. And that's one of the reasons why I like it so much is because there is no off season. Speaking of it being no off season, we're going to start the news right off the top that apparently John Jones is a free man. Jack, what are your early reactions to this? Are you surprised that the charges were dropped from earlier this summer, and just kind of how are you accepting all of this as this news broke? Probably within the last 2 to 3 hours or so.
Yeah, no, the report is what came out in February is that he was driving a woman in a car, allegedly, and he fled the scene, and it was just the lady who kept accusing him of being there. And as of today, New Mexico State Court has dismissed all charges. John Jones is an innocent man. And listen, he may be innocent, he may be not, but I just think if you're always a type of guy like John Jones, I think you're not going to be given the benefit of the doubt in these situations. However, he continuously is given the benefit of the doubt. So we'll see what happens there. I'm not the biggest Jones guy, but hey, it is what it is. What do you think about it?
I'm not either. Even as someone who actually had the good fortune of, or I guess I don't know if you want to call it good fortune or bad fortune. As someone who had the opportunity, I guess, to meet him in person shortly after he won the light heavyweight title. I'm not sure how to really feel about this. All I know is that I had a sneaking feeling that this was going to happen because I don't know if you sensed it, but the amount of silence that's almost took place with in the last 4 to 5 weeks since the initial buzz of the UFC's announcement of the White House card moving forward for next summer, as proceeded as planned. You haven't really heard much from Jones. You've heard like very cryptic social media messages here and there, but there was really no meaning behind like what they even were. So I guess to know, I guess to know that the incident has subsided is interesting. But now it leads me to question as to why he even retired in the first place. Uh, given that this was the result of the legal proceedings, but again, as you said, it remains to be seen. But I feel like now, I think the odds of Jones at least being a part of that event, I think, can go significantly up now with this news, as opposed to maybe if you were asked about him a week ago or 2 weeks ago rather. What do you think?
I just think, and I might be a hater, but I just think it's interesting how I would say every 3 to 6 months there's a new legal problem with John Jones, and every single time he somehow gets out of it. And I'm just basing it off history.
Okay.
History will repeat itself, and he repeats himself over and over and over and over and over again. And he is released, set free with no problem, no charges, nothing, over and over and over again. So I don't know what's going on down in New Mexico. John Jones might know some people, but I think I'm happy that he's able to continue doing what he wants to do.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it too. Speaking of some other news, just kind of rolling around the MMA community, we had some major fight announcements from Dana White on a private jet heading back from Washington D.C. to what I would presumably believe was Vegas before he headed off to do some other things down in Miami. He was actually at the Miami Hurricanes Notre Dame football game the other night, but nonetheless, some pretty big announcements came out of that Instagram Live. Of course, the biggest one being that Madison Square Garden has its main and co-main events, and they're two pretty big fights. We've got Jack Della Maddalena taking on Islam Makhachev for JDM's newly minted UFC welterweight championship, and we've got the super fight of all super fights in women's MMA between Weili Zhang and Valentina Shevchenko. I don't know about you, but as someone who hadn't gone to sleep at 10:30 where we are just yet, I was pretty excited. What about you?
Listen, I went to bed early that night, so I woke up about 7 a.m. the next day, like, whoa,
Yeah.
Islam versus JDM. I think it's an awesome fight. I think Weili versus Val have been waiting for this for years, and you missed. I don't think you missed one, but the feature fight as well. The former champion Leon Edwards taking on Carlos Prates, who just got
Yeah,
that spinning elbow in Chicago.
that's gonna be a good one. That'll be a Yeah, that one is gonna be underrated the whole week, just given the fights that are above it. But that is a huge fight. That is a welterweight division swing fight if I've ever seen one.
I think if
That's
Prates
for sure.
wins, they're going to give him a title shot after. I think they're going to say, Ian Gary, get out of here. Carlos Prates is the real star.
Interesting. Well, that would cause a whole riff at the top of 170 for sure. I'm almost positive about that. Those were some huge fight announcements, and then the other one, which was interesting, is the direction that they're going to go in with the strawweight division. They're going to go in at the at the rematch, and this one to me was extremely surprising and a little bit out of left field because I don't know if anybody asked for this rematch, but it seems like though in any event, I think it'll be interesting to see how the division moves forward, considering that I think its most dominant champion is now out of it. Could you suspect that it may become a little bit more boring, given that it's the darn Giandaroba fight, or do you see it a little bit differently? To where do you think that this ushers in a new era where or maybe some newer stars it emerge in that division? Because I think that division, to be fair, despite a few title changeovers, has been relatively stagnant over the last 4 to 5 years. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I love Whaley. I'm a Whaley stan. I love her. She's awesome to watch, but I do hate that she fights only once a year. So, like you said, the division's been kind of stagnant. It's been her Rose at the top of the division since 2020. And basically, I think what the UFC wanted to do here is Tatiana Suarez just got beat by Whaley, and it was not pretty. It was a bad fight. So in my mind, Verna had to be in the title shot because she beat everybody. I don't think the UFC wants her there because she's not the most exciting, but I think she's so good and proved herself. She's the number one contender. But then if you look at who's next, they've got Yan Jiaonan, they've got
Right,
Tatiana Suarez, and
right.
then Mackenzie Dern.
Which Shao Nan has already lost too. So it's like, what do you do? So it's like, what do you do there? Yeah.
Exactly. And it was Verna. Verna is coming off a Yan Xiaonan win. So he
Right.
can't be her. Tatiana just lost to Whaley, but I think the secret play here is they're keeping her on the side because this fight already happened and Mackenzie Dern won. And Mackenzie Dern is going to be the biggest draw at 115 that the UFC has. She's a fan favorite. And I think
Huge
she's a great
Instagram
fighter.
following. By the way, just his heads up.
No, I'm not going anything. I think she's a great fighter, but I think she's the UFC's most profitable 115 fighter,
No,
and
no,
she
I
beat
agree.
Verna. So I think they
I agree.
want Mackenzie Dern to win, and then I think the next fight will be Mackenzie Dern versus Tatiana Suarez for the title.
That'll be if that happens, that'll be very interesting. And it would be interesting too if they made Tatiana Suarez in this hypothetical scenario come to enemy territory to try to beat Dern. That would be the play, I think.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure. And then just kind of moving over to some other topics as well. Now that we know it's officially confirmed, Dana White said the White House card is officially done and that more details will be ironed out in the next few weeks, probably in regards to just more logistics and then possible fights that you may see on it, that you may see on it. Um, I'm gonna go first, and then I'll let you put your matchmaker cap on here. I think the biggest fight and the most profitable fight the UFC can do, and I understand it's a little bit controversial, and I understand I understand we just spoke about a relatively huge figure that I think could be on this card, but I think the biggest fight the UFC could do, and a fight that I think is being slept on, is Conor McGregor versus Nate Diaz 3. I think you gotta do it. I think that's the fight. It's the unfinished trilogy. They said for years that they would finally do it again. There's no there's there's no bigger fight to do in front of the president as a 5 round non-title main event than those two, in my opinion. And you got to think too, Conor McGregor has been on the sidelines for nearly 5 years. It's clear that Nate Diaz wants a fight, but he wants guys with intrigue. He wants guys with interest. That's the reason why you're not seeing Nate Diaz compete as much, because there's nobody out there that excites him. I think Conor McGregor will get him out of bed and get him motivated. What do you think?
I love that matchup. I would love to see that matchup, and I did not see that coming from you. The fight I thought you were going to say, and I'm going to say, and you've heard it a million times over the past 2 years, and I think Dana's going to fold. I think the main event of the White House will be John Jones versus Tom Aspinall for the heavyweight title.
Really?
I think so. I think
So why do
America
you
right.
so if it was so in your opinion, why do you, in your true assessment, feel that the first time they tried to make this fight it fell through, but now given all the other stakes, the fight will happen this time? What do you think is going to be the key difference that gets that fight over the goal line, if you will?
I think first things first, Tom Aspinall needs to beat Cyril Gane in October. That's
Right.
first things first.
Right.
However, I think the biggest problem was that John Jones, I think John Jones is the most devious fighter on earth because I think he's been playing the long mind game with Tom Aspinall. He made him wait. Tom was so motivated for over a year, and it got to the point where everybody was sick and tired of hearing about John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. They give him what he wants. They give him everything, and he still says no. So then Tom's sick of it. Tom doesn't want to hear John Jones anymore. So he's thinking about other things. And by the time March comes around or July comes around, I think Tom is going to be so out of the John Jones picture. John will be like, okay, I'm back, and we're going in 6 weeks. We're going right now. And I think because it's the White House, because they're going to get paid a ton, because it's Tom Aspinall, he's done all this long game, I think they're going to say yes. And what's Dana going to say? Oh, this is the fight. I've let the biggest fights of the last 5 years get away from me. I'm going to let another one get away.
Those are all very very good points, but I think I'm going to counter you on one. You say that Tom Aspinall is going to be so sick of John Jones by that particular juncture, but you think the fight's eventually going to get done anyway. What do you think they're going to do to convince Tom Aspinall that the fight is really going to happen, as opposed to all the stuff that went down in late June to where the fight just completely fell apart?
I think money solves all problems, and I think they're going to pay Tom Aspinall a whole lot of money.
You think it's going to be more than $33 million, though?
I don't think it's going to be more than 10 million, but I think he's going to get 7 to 10, and it's going to be the biggest paycheck he's ever gotten.
Really? Okay. And then are you going as far as to say if and when the fight does happen that Tom Aspinall is the man to beat John Jones, or are you not there? Or are you not there yet? Because I'm one of those people where if you have someone of a stature like Tom Brady, like John Jones, like some of these other star athletes, they're to where they're in the moment, to me you just can't. And I understand the appeal with Aspinall, but to me, you just can't pick against uh, the best person in a given sport, if you will. And I still think that John Jones, yeah, as Dana White alluded to a year ago, that when John Jones is active, I still think that he's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. And I know a lot of people could give me slack for that, and rightfully so. There are some other names on that list, and John Jones is competing. As the numbers and records show, he's difficult to beat. What do you think?
I love Tom Aspinall, and I, personal bias, hate John Jones. I think John Jones is the greatest fighter to ever walk on this earth. I think he's the most dangerous
Okay,
man to ever walk on this earth. However, he's old. He's slow. He's older than he's ever been. He's slower than he's ever been. He's heavier than he's ever been. He's more intoxicated than he's ever been. And I think all those things combined with Tom Aspinall, who is dialed in with the best heavyweights in the world from KSW, Bellator, PFL, Cage Warriors, all of them. He has a super team. I think he gets the job done in one. However, if it were to go longer than the first round, I think John Jones pulls it off.
shout out to Tom O'Bannon in the chat. He writes to us and he says they owe it to Tom Aspinall to make him a big star after all of his bullshit, and that, my friend, is 100% fact. That's not that's not an opinion. The UFC owes him 100%, 100%.
I agree. I think they owe him a big star matchup and a big raise.
So now that we're on the topic of Aspinall, how quickly do you think he knocks out Cyril Gane in about 6 weeks' time?
I'm concerned for Tom
Okay.
Aspinall because,
Wow, interesting. Okay.
and I think Tom Aspinall is better than Cyril Gane in every aspect of this sport.
Okay.
Physically, mentally, striking, grappling, he's better than Cyril Gane. Power, he's better than him. However, time and time again, when people are facing the pressure like Tom Aspinall is now, like now after all this John Jones talk, people are saying, "Oh, Gane's a gimme." Gane's a tough fight, man. He's a
He's
hard fight.
tough, but I'm going to counter you and say he is 0-2 in the big spot.
You're right. You're right. So I think Tom Aspinall gets the job done. I think it'll be about 3 or 4 minutes submission. I think he takes him down right away.
Wow.
But
Okay. Okay.
I'm concerned if this gets out of the first 7 minutes of what this fight might look like.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay. Well. Now that we're on that part of the discussion, let's talk about the dire scenario of potentially Cyril Gane upsetting Tom Aspinall. What does the UFC do then?
I think they have to book a rematch, I guess, because I don't think business wise they want to have a champion that got beat by John Jones, the guy who retired in 2 minutes. I think business wise they need a champion who has the aura. The guy who, like, oh, he might have beat John Jones. He ran John Jones out of the sport. The guy John Jones beat in a minute 50 beats the guy who was supposed to be the boogeyman. All hell will break loose on MMA Twitter, and Tom Aspinall will be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah, that's going to be a scene that if that happens, I have no idea what to expect. Speaking of a scene where I have no idea what to expect, is could you imagine if Jack Della Lady does the unthinkable and beats Islam Makhachev? Could you?
I think he's gonna. I think he's going to knock
Wow!
out Islam Makhachev.
What? Wow! What makes you say that?
I
Wow!
think,
I was not. Oh, you brought some you brought some fire takes today. I wasn't expecting that one. And we're only on September 2nd. This is unbelievable. Okay. Okay.
listen, I'm a big Volkanovski man. I'm the biggest Volkanovski fan you'll find. And I think if Alex Volkanovski can bring Islam Makhachev the fight like he did, I think Jack Maddalena, a better boxer, a better scrambler, a fantastic cardio. He's so good. But I think if
And his
Volk can bring him,
wrestling too, dude.
his anti-wrestling, his
Yeah.
offensive wrestling. Look what just happened to Bilal. I think if Volk could bring the fight to Islam like he did, and JDM totally shut down Bilal, who I love Bilal, Chicago guy, who is an Islam-esque fighter. I won't say nearly as good as grappling, but esque. That is how he gets the job
He
done.
is, yeah. He fights almost identical to what Islam does.
I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
the shots that Volk was hitting Islam with, I think if JDM hits him, and I think he's gonna, because he is maybe the best boxer in the division, I think he's gonna ping Islam all over the place against defense and put him away.
Wow. Dude, you want to talk about MMA Twitter going crazy? If that happens, oh my god. Oh my
I think it's very, very possible. I think JDM is that guy. I think he's that guy.
again, so I mean you've been teasing it to me off air. Is that a fight that you're interested in attending? Are you gonna try to go to it?
I would love to. I'm gonna be in New York that weekend. I'm gonna be there for fight week. Am I gonna be there for the event? I don't know yet, but I would love to.
Yeah, that's a fight where if you can make it to that, I 1000% I 1000% would encourage it. Let's move over now and switch gears with a couple minutes left from the octagon to the squared circle. We had a major development from the Canelo Crawford side of things. That's a week from this Saturday on Netflix at Allegiant Stadium. The undercard got announced, and one fight that sticks out to me is the Callum Walsh Fernando Vargas fight. Do you who think that this is too early for Dana White's favorite boxer to have this big of a step up in competition, or do you think that Vargas is the right opponent for Callum Walsh? I'm excited for I followed Callum Walsh his whole career so far, and even I'm nervous. Even I'm nervous for that fight, and I don't have a pick for it yet. So
Man, I really like Callum Walsh, and like ever since he's been with Dana, I've watched every fight, and he's good. But I think for like Fernando Vargas is not even a level above him. I think he might be 2 or 3
oh
levels above
yeah, I
Callum
agree.
Walsh right now.
Oh, I agree with that. Oh, I agree.
So I think early prediction here: Fernando Vargas TKO round 7, 8, 9.
But a pretty competitive fight leading up to it, though, right?
Super. I think it's going to be super competitive. I think Callum Walsh is a dog. I think he's powerful. I think it's going to be super back and forth, but I think Vargas is just going to be too much for him right now.
I'm gonna go as far to say it's gonna be the next great rivalry in the sport of boxing.
Really?
that's what yeah, I think you're gonna see two, if not three, between these two, and they're all just gonna be electric. Every single one of them. So
I agree. Listen, I might be a little Vargas biased. He's been on my boys podcast, The Burn Factory, and he just seems like a lovely guy. But early pick, I'm picking him to get the job done.
for sure. And I mean, now that we're kind of talking about Canelo Crawford, how do you feel with it competing against Noche UFC? And do you think this is going to be big business for TKO? Because I don't think you could ask for much more than two stellar cards in the same day. What do you think?
See, I think I'm going to disagree with you there. I don't think it's 2 stellar cards. I think the
Really?
UFC slacked heavy in the month of September. I think they took the month off for Noche, and they gave all the credit because they realized their Guadalajara arena wasn't ready. They didn't have a. I think Diego Lopez versus Gene Silva is a great main event, but it's not a great Mexican main event. It's 2 Brazilians. And I think they realized Noche this year in the timeline wasn't working out, and they put full focus into Canelo versus Crawford. And this Noche card's lackluster because of it.
Good point. I just more so meant the quality of the main event. It's still a solid fight leading into Canelo Crawford, though.
Fantastic. The two main events are fantastic. Gene Silva versus Diego Lopez is going to be an amazing fight.
Yeah, I agree. I just think it's going to be interesting to see how many people not cross over, but how many people put their level of attention between the UFC and boxing. Because honestly, I'm going to try to put my level of attention towards boxing because I've been a Terrence Crawford stan for a long time. So I think I'm going to be more focused in seeing how that Netflix card goes. But I don't think the UFC main event is as bad as what people are making it out to be. And yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think they took the month of September off. I mean, if you look at this calendar, we've got the card that we're going to preview. Oh, and speaking of Noche, we have another comment from Tom here. It says this year's Noche got her the Mexican arena not being completed in time, and the movement of getting TKO boxing off the ground 100% right. I just don't understand why the UFC didn't admit that they had issues earlier before waiting until the last minute. That's what all of the Mexican MMA media was trying to report. Nobody was paying attention. Did you notice that?
I did. I heard about a month before that the arena wasn't ready, and I think the main event's great. But I think when you look down the Noche card, the co-main event is David Martinez versus Rob Font, which is a good fight. But David Martinez has had one UFC fight in the Apex,
I
so I
know.
don't know. But I agree. I think the arena heard it. I think that Diego Lopez reps Mexico, so it kind of counts. But I think the timelines didn't add up. I think the arena heard, and I think the card paid the price.
I think so too. Now that we have a couple minutes left, let's kind of take a bird's eye view, if you will, of the remainder of the UFC calendar. We have a lighter September, as you just alluded to. We've got a trip to Paris this weekend, then we have the card in San Antonio. Then we have a week off on September 20th, which I was really surprised about. I thought they would slot the pay-per-view that weekend. There is no UFC that weekend, and then they go to Perth, and they start an absolutely loaded October. Looking ahead towards the end of the schedule, what events are you looking forward to the most outside of Madison Square Garden? And how do you feel about the final pay per view on ESPN Plus um, getting getting put out? And how do you feel about some of these remaining Apex events coming up? Because I think we'll get some decent main events, but maybe not the same quality of main events that we've gotten in years past. How do you feel about the remainder of the UFC calendar as 2024 winds down in the next 12 to 13 weeks or so?
I love it. I'm going to be at UFC Threat at 320. I think that's going to be a very fun event in
Oh,
Las
you
Vegas.
are. You are going officially. Okay.
I'm going. I'll be there. And then 321, I'm a little less excited about, but it'll be good. I'm excited to see Tom Aspinall back in the cage. 322 will be fantastic. But I think December, the last ESPN pay-per-view, is going to be spectacular. From what I've heard, my sources, this is unconfirmed, Alexander Volkanovski versus Lerone Murphy main event, Pantoja versus Josh Van co-main event. And I think the rest of the card is going to be stacked due to people having to get some fights. They got to get 3 fights in the year offered at least. So I'm looking forward to December.
Yeah, I've heard from unconfirmed sources is maybe similarly to some of the same unconfirmed sources that you've heard from. And it's also the proposed main and co-main event. So I think we're in. I think we're in for a very interesting remainder of the year, as well as a remainder. Well, I know that there's been some criticism about this, but I think I think some of the remaining Dana White Contender Series episodes are going to be pretty good too. We have the upcoming week coming up tonight. So stay tuned for that. If you want to, I actually kind of do agree with the UFC lingo that considering that there is nothing on Tuesday nights. I actually do think it's the best show on Tuesday nights because
I love it.
what else would you
It's my
what else
favorite
would you
show.
watch? Yeah.
I'll take fights Monday through Friday if I can't have them Saturday. If you're giving me 5 on Tuesday nights, I'm all in.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for the first Tuesday edition of the MMA Outsiders. Jack, before we get out of here, are there any final thoughts or any teases that you want to plug before we do this all over again on Thursday?
I'm happy to be here. I think this was great. Make sure to watch Dana White's Contender Series tonight. Couple people. I love some guys on this card. Watch out for Gene Libasani. He's my guy. I like
I'm
him.
taking him. I took him. I took him. I took him tonight. Should be a good. Should be a good card considering that I'm 13-2 through the first 15 weeks. I think it'll be pretty good. I know your record is relatively solid as well. And if it's anything like last week's episode, we're in for another crazy episode.
I think so.
That's for sure. So that's going to do it for us here from ETB. But thanks again for tuning in. Thanks again to the playback community for tuning in. And we will see you guys on Thursday. Have a good one.